السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Welcome to new video. Surds. Expand. 2 minus square root 2 3 plus square root 5. Okay, 2 times 3, 2 times square root 5, negative square root 2 times 3, negative square root 2 times 5. 2 times 3 equals 6. 2 times square root 5 plus 2 square root 5. Negative 2 times 3, negative 3 square root 2. Negative square root 2 times negative times square root 5 equals square root 10. Okay? Again, 2 times 3, 6. 2 times square root 5, 2 square root 5. Negative 2 times 3, negative 3 square root 5, square root 2. Negative square root 2 times 5, negative square root 10. Rationalizing denominators. Rationalize square root 5 plus square root 2 out of square root 5 minus square root 2. Okay? Rationalize this fraction. We multiply square root 5 plus square root 2, square root 5 plus square root 2. Okay? Square root 5 minus square root 2, square root 5 plus square root 2 out of square root 5 plus square root 2. Equals, in denominator, square root 5 squared minus square root 2 squared. Okay? Square root 5 minus square root 2 times square root 5 plus square root 2, square root 5 squared minus square root 5 squared. Okay? Square root 5 times square root 5, square root 5 times square root 2, square root 2 times square root 5, square root 2 times square root 5. Square root 5 times square root 2, square root 5 equals 5. Square root 5 times square root 2 plus square root 10. Okay? Square root 2 times square root 5 square root 10 plus square root 2 times square root 2 equals 2. Equals, combine like terms, 5 plus 2, 7, plus square root 2, square root 10, plus square root 10, 2 square root 10. Okay? Square root 5 squared equals 5. Square root 2 2 equals 7 plus 2 square root 10 out of 3. Okay? Again, we multiply numerator and denominator. Square root 5 plus square root 2 out of square root 5 plus square root 2. In denominator, square root 5 squared minus square root 5 square root 2 squared. Square root 5 times 5 equals 5. Square root 5 times square root 2 equals square root 10. Square root 2 times square root 5 square root 10. Square root 2 times square root 2 equals 2. Combine like terms. Simplify. Another example. Simplify 3 minus 2 square root 5 out square root 5 minus 1. Given your answer, in the form P plus Q square root 5. Concentrate with me. 3 minus 2 square root 5 out of square root 5 minus 1 times square root 5 plus 1 square root 5 plus 1. Okay? Equals square root 2 5 minus 1 times square root 5 plus 1 square root 5 all squared minus 1 squared. Okay? 3 times square root 5, 3 square root 5, 3 times 1 equals 3. Negative 2 square root 5 times 5 times square root 5 equals negative 10. Why? Square root 5 times square root 5 times 2 negative 10. Negative 2 square root 5 times 1 negative 2 square root 5. Okay? Combine like terms. Square root 5 minus 1. Okay? 3 square root 5 minus 2 square root 5 equals square root 5. 3 minus 10 negative 7. Okay? Equals square root 5 minus 7 out of 4. We want to put the answer in the form P plus Q square root 5 equals square root 5 out of 4 minus 7 out of 4. Okay? Equals negative 7 out of 4, negative 7 out of 4 plus 1 out of 4 square root 5. Okay? Giving your answer in the form P plus Q, Q square root 5, where P and Q rational numbers. again, simplify 3 minus 2 square root 5 out of square root 5 minus 1. We multiply square root 5 conjugate of denominator, square root 5 minus 1, square root 5 plus 1, square root 5 plus 1. We multiply in denominator square root 5 squared minus 1 squared. This is formula. 3 times square root 5, 3 square root 5, 3 times 1, 3, negative 2 times square root 5 times 5, negative 10. Y square root 5 times square root 5, 5 times negative 2, negative 10. Negative 2 square root 5 times 1, negative 2 square root 5. Combine like terms. 3 square root 5 minus 2 square root 5 square root 5. 3 minus 10, 7. 5 square root 5 squared 5, 1 squared 1 equals 4. Square root 7, square root 5 minus 7 out of 4 equals square root 5 out of 4 minus 7 out of 4 equals negative 7 out of 4 plus 1 out of 4 square root 5.